development for 18 years. Jython 2.7 release candidate 2 is now available as I speak, so we're hoping that we're really going to have a final release. But you may have heard of some questions about Jython, like, isn't Jython a dead project? Doesn't Jython have a guild just like CPython? Isn't Jython much slower than other Python implementations? Doesn't Jython only implement a subset of Python? No. Now, I have a vested interest. I'm a core developer of Jython. I wrote with some other people, apparently the definitive book about this. I've been working on Jython since 2007 as a committer, and I've been a user of Python and Jython since 2003. Also, I'm a software developer at Rackspace. So you read these tweets, so addressing one of the first questions, is it dead? Can Jython be saved, or is it pretty much dead at this point? So is Jython basically dead or what? I'm starting to get the point here. Is it still around? I thought the project was dead. Oh. Now, I will admit that sometimes we are too optimistic. So my note for the reviewers of this talk proposal, I assume Jython 2.7.0 will see a final release by the end of this year. That would be 2014. And certainly well before PyCon. That was, I assume, let's say Friday. I worked so hard to make this true, and so did the other committers and contributors. But we do have one last bug, but we're close. I'm hoping to actually have that final release truly done Monday. That would be tomorrow. But here it is, release candidate 2, so I guess I have a demo. Let's try it out. Where did I put it? All right, so I'm going to I actually haven't run the installer today. All right, so let's see, English. All right, that sounds good. Accept, next. I want standard, and I want install pip and setup tools. Hope you like that. That's our standard distro. Let's go and create that. Next, next. Hopefully it runs. Generating start scripts, installing pip and setup tools. Let's see what's doing there. So it's just processing new jars. If you've used Jython in the past, you've probably seen this. So it should just be loading up at that point. And I'm going to let that, we are now running through the bundled wheels. So this doesn't actually do it off the network. It's cleaning up, and I'm done. Okay. So that's pretty cool. Let's go back to the presentation. So releasing, looking at that other question, the second question, doesn't it have a GIL? You know, so we have this ability to import the GIL. Oh, wait. We actually don't have a GIL. All right, so hopefully that answers question number 2. So there is one performance benchmark. You might have heard of PyStone. And on my machine, it benchmarks at this level of PyStones per second. I've intentionally done a large number of passes, as I will explain in just a second. And wait, it's faster than CPython for this terrible performance benchmark. Really? Really? PyStone? People still think this is a great benchmark? I haven't considered JVM startup time or JIT warmup, so obviously I'm already running Jython at that point. And this is allowing it to go and take advantage of JIT warmup by doing a large number of passes, 1 million passes. And I'm not looking at garbage collection issues, although that is very tunable, as you know, on Java. Oh, wait. So I mean, again, it's not only a terrible benchmark, but we are actually slower than PyPy right now. I'll address this question in a second. I mean, so it's about 21 times faster than Jython, and about 40 times faster or whatever than CPython. However, This release did not focus one tiny bit really on performance. We focused on compatibility. Here's the real interesting thing. We didn't do the work anyway. Java 7 and Java 8, I didn't run this on Java 8. It should be faster as well than even Java 7. The people who are working on Hotspot or on J9 from IBM or other alternative JVM implementations are doing that hard work. I actually do care about PyStone because it does measure things around dynamic dispatch and other sort of inner loop type performance in the Python runtime or Jython runtime. So it's important for me, less important for you. You run the benchmark that you care about. But at least we're not like terrible. One way to understand projects is, and this is certainly what I do, what you all should do is, look at the email list, the wikis, the code, what's new, bug reports, so on and so forth. Especially the commit log. Commits to tell you what changed. And that sort of tells you, again, whether or not that project is really alive or not. So what about this subset of the Python language? Well, it's not just language features. It's a standard library. It's the Python ecosystem. I just showed you ensure pip and having that work. And how have we responded? Okay, so getting back to my original point, read the actual changes. So there was this, I wasn't really satisfied with this text. Python's inventor, Guido von Rossum, and the rest of Python labs, it shows how dated this is, continues to help and support Jython by their understanding of how Jython must live within the limits of Java. No, let's not do that. This makes it much better. Jython, Python for the Java platform. Jython follows closely the Python language and its reference implementation CPython. And Jython 2.7 corresponds to CPython 2.7. So, we're not really saying, hey, there's this limitation, because the JVM and the Java ecosystem has obviously evolved over time and is much richer. And we're also no longer concerned about, hey, are we pure Java? Should we just support only the functionality that we get out of Java 7? No, we take things like Java native runtime or whatnot. We support C extensions to a certain extent, not the C extension API, but definitely C code. And I'll be talking about that as well in the talk. So here are some of the things we've added. I talked to Benjamin Peterson about this. He was telling me, oh, so you support all the crazy import hook magic? Yes, we do for 6. And now that means that your single source code base that runs on Python 2 and Python 3 potentially also runs on Jython. If you ever use characteristic and its class decorator magic, we also support that, and you can embed lambdas in your class decorator. We fully support socket, select SSL using Netty 4 to be precise. Request in its beautiful API. Pip, as we just saw. We're also supporting this functionality for Windows, including executable zip archives, and on localized platforms, including these, and presumably many more. Which also means that we support Chinese, Japanese, and Korean encodings. All right, let's try this out. So I'm going to go over to Windows. Okay. And let's see. Open source. I'm not really used to the backslash here, but okay. And let's see here. I have installed it under Jython. Nope, not that one. Jython.exe. So it's now a native executable. And I'm going to run the test request code. And we'll just see that spin through. And unfortunately, it's a little bit, there we go, yeah. A little bit of time to go and start that up because I don't think I have my VMware Fusion actually optimized to run Windows, but there we go, we got some dots. dots, dot, dot. All right, a few more dots. I guess everything is good. Good so far. Oh, it looks like we haven't supported the new SSL context, so we're not at 2.7.9 functionality yet. But we ran all 143 tests. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, since Java has an SSL context object, it really is just a question of just exposing that new functionality. We'll get to it maybe even this coming week with the sprints. Okay. There's a new project that a number of us have been working on. It's called CLAMP. It allows us to support precise integration with Java. It means that you can directly import your Python classes into your Java code. Like, here's your Java code, and at the top, and I'll just show you in a moment, I can just import that Python code, that Python module that's been clamped. It integrates with setup tools to produce jars. You might use this, for example, with the big data ecosystem. I've been playing with this, for example, to run it directly on Storm, Apache Storm, for example. I think we should be able to also add support for Maven at some future points, so you can pull in stuff that you want, additional jars from the Maven repositories in that fashion. And it's a great sprint topic for this week. So let's say we had something like this. We're going to import, serializable interface and a callable interface, and we want to go and make something that can be called from Java code if we were to pass it through into a callback. That would be the normal way that you would have done it in previous versions of Jython. However, just by adding this one line, this clamp base and the import from the clamp module, and then going and using that, this is actually a meta class that is built, this bar base. This will now locate your bar clamp class in a Java package that will be built out with the clamp build jar and single jar support. So I can just simply do something like this. Notice it is a standard setup.py. All I'm adding here is just a new keyword clamp. So it's actually implemented using a setup tools extension. And here's some, we normally don't like to show too much Java code at PyCon, but you have to admit that this is kind of cool. Yeah. So here, that bar clamp class is being directly imported into your Java code. And you can just use, and you can see, you've got to use the standard like catch exceptions and all this stuff that you would typically have to do. That was not terribly interesting. So here's another project that shows this off a little bit more. This is the Fireside project. It's a WSGI bridge to servlet containers. It passes some compliance testing. April 17th is Friday. I'm going to be working with some of my fellow developers at Rackspace on adding servlet filter support for it. It uses clamp, so a good example. So we just simply add this to your web.xml. Notice that we just simply need to bind this WSGI servlet. Where is this coming from? Well, this is something that's been clamped. How does that look? Well, you just start with this. You do your standard thing. As I said, you have this thing for building out a meta class base. We'll put it in the org python.tools namespace, Java namespace. You might see something like this. You have your class WSGI servlet is simply extending HTTP servlet and this tool base, so again, Clamp knows how to work with it. And it's just standard Python code that is calling some Java, right? And being called by Java. So we can build this project out. This just uses, everything here is just using 2.7 release candidate 2. I'm going to install Bottle and Mako, Clamp and Fireside. Currently these are not on PyPy because they're not yet really ready yet in terms of how we want to see the testing and everything, but ready enough for us to go and play with for sure. I built out this bottle application using a Mako template. All right, so that's pretty standard hello world. I created a single jar that I can build out into a WAR file. I run it with Jetty. I test it against Apache benchmark. The first time I run it, I see, wow, that's really long. It's, 6 seconds for everything to load up and everything. But after a while, it converges on, the average median time, is 1 millisecond. And the 99th percentile is 4 milliseconds. Not so bad. So the steady state performance is definitely decent. And I should mention that occasionally you will see garbage collection pauses, but again, you can also tune that in your Java garbage collector, and I happen to just be running this on my laptop. Okay, so what about that better Java integration I was speaking about? Okay, well, let's go take a look at that. So I'll just start Jython 2.7. So this is kind of nice. Javas can be kind of wordy, so what about tab completion built into the console? All right, but you still get all of that nice Java functionality. So, I kind of like concurrent skip list set. So I can build one of those sets. I can take a dir of that, and what I'll notice is it has all of these functions that come straight out of the standard Python set. So we have adapted Java sets so that they look like Python sets. They're semantically equivalent. All right? That's kind of cool. And that's true for Java util map. It looks like a standard dict. That's true also for Java util list. It looks like a standard Python list. All right, so some great work to make that happen by the people who have committed and contributed to Jython past couple years. And this particular work just came about in the last 4 months or so. But wait, there's more. Okay, so let's see here. I can import collections. And I can say, is instance s collections set this abstract base class? Yes, but of course it is. So we really are trying to go and truly be semantically equivalent. Whatever you're seeing in that Java namespace when you import it into the Python namespace and you're using it there, you should just be able to treat it as if it were a Python object, including these sorts of behaviors. What do you think? Is that cool? Thank you. So the next thing that you might consider is C integration. So I've shown you some of the Java integration story, but could we do better on our C integration side? Well, there is this project that's kind of cool out there. It's called JFFI, and it is a standard project from the Java native runtime. JRuby really built this out. The people on the JRuby team have continued to develop on it, and it's possible that it will be part of Java 9. We also use it in Jython, so specifically our POSIX support, things that we cannot get out of Java 7 NIO2. By the way, we do now require that you run Jython on Java 7. That sort of thing we can go and take advantage of from the Java native runtime, and specifically just JFFI. However, it's still not part of the standard Python ecosystem, right? I mean, it's nice that it is existing there, and for people who are really hardcore on this, they will definitely want to use something like JFFI. But can we do better? Well, Stefan Richtover, who is here this week and also sprinting on Jython, Oh, and we'll stand up. He's been working on this fantastic project. And the idea is simple. He allows you with this project to simply add the J1i jar to your class path, or you could add it to sys.path probably. And it allows you to get at C extension API support. Right now, I know you demoed this with T. Kenter at the Lightning Talks, right? The challenge right now is for adding full garbage collection support, because guess what? It's not terribly interesting if you don't actually collect garbage with something like this. I mean, I think you can run some packages regardless in this fashion, but you really want to have full garbage collection support. So Stefan is planning to work on C-type support, JFFI, and in the future NumPy. Wouldn't that be awesome? NumPy support. As I like to say it, Jython could truly be a force for evil in the world, one ring to rule them all. Well, you know, you have the Python ecosystem and the Java ecosystem and the Fortran ecosystem and the C ecosystem. Any event, an interesting idea. So we're hopeful that this will be approved and working this summer on it. Well, what about, here's another interesting thing. You know, there's this thing called Python bytecode. So Jython compiles the Java bytecode, but Python bytecode is kind of cool to use as well. So I'll just show you a little example. Let's say we had this simple function, like so. It compiles this way, so this is the disassembly of that. All right. So, and if you look at ceval.c and you're just looking at the bytecode for that, you know, binary add right there, you'll see something along the following line in C code. So, all right, so that's not so bad. Well, that's a little bit more. Oh, you still have to worry about reference counting. Well, we have this experimental virtual machine in Jython that allows us to go and run Python bytecode. And mind you, it's a little bit simpler, because that was the implementation of the add operation. I don't think we'll have time for me to dig into this, but let's just say that it'd be kind of cool to take a look and compare, and I'll mention in just a moment why this is important. So Jython 2.7, X. This is the getting beyond point. So where X is greater than 0, X equals 1, X equals 2, whatever. We're going to be focusing around performance. We're probably going to find even more opportunities to do better Java integration. I know in particular, we need to better support super for Java. It'd be really cool to go and have this Python bytecode compiler, because on Android, if you want to be able to not have everything compiled in advance ahead of time with, say, a setup.py, you need something like that so you can, you know, pull up a Jython console on your Android box. Wouldn't that be sweet? I'm sure we're going to have more hooks for Java integration, of course. When, how, for 2.7.x? Well, I think as long as Python 2.7 is in wide use. But we're going to move to time-based releases, because feature-based is sort of a sucky way to do it. And every 6 months seems much better. I think we're in a better shape for that, because once you hit to a certain level of compliance, it's much easier to say, well, we just add things and we tweak it in this fashion. And I'm hoping to use this new workflow that CPython is working on as well. Some other things is that Java 9 is adding some really cool features for optimization. And there's even this really cool project out of UC Irvine that's achieving, so I mentioned that 21x performance gap with PyPy. Well, right now I think Zippy is about the same speed or faster than PyPy. Unfortunately, it's still just extraordinarily experimental, only runs toy stuff. But if you were to combine together Zippy with the Jython runtime, that would be interesting. Some people occasionally will ask me about 3.x, and I don't just snap at them. It does come up periodically. To be honest, it would definitely simplify Jython because, let's face it, CPython 3x is much closer in terms of its treatment of Unicode strings and byte strings, for example, compared to what we see in Java. We can strip out some code. That's great. When is it going to come up? I don't know. I mean, that's like another big thing, but we're not going to death march it or anything like that. We're going to just take it as it comes up and play with it. But we will go and try to target 3.5, and it's definitely a really cool feature of the upcoming sprints. So one more thing I'll say is that if you are interested in Minecraft because you have kids, so I have some kids as myself, we're going to be trying to go and look at Minecraft support, full Python support for Minecraft, or I should say take all of Bucket and expose it in that fashion because it's cool, and Bucket is Java, and then you can go and like write your own mods in Python, like real mods. Wouldn't that be awesome? All right, so that's, yeah, thanks. And that's it. Any questions? I'd love to take them.
All right, oh my goodness, people. Did I spot him typing import Java into a Python console? I'm not sure whether that's sacrilegious or wonderful, but I think I'm going to go with the latter. So join me, please, in giving Jim a huge hand. Thank you very much. All right, so we have like about a minute, 2 minutes for questions, so please queue up with the microphone, fire away, and make the questions insanely difficult.
Great talk, Jim. Thanks.
Thanks.
I actually still have production code running using Jython at one of my previous companies.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just, at a higher level though, can you ask me why do you get the tweets and the hashtags to ask if Jython's still alive? I guess I'm curious because there's still clearly a need for it in the ecosystem, but what is why do you think that's the perception?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is it's taken us a while to go and get 2.7 out, and people look at it and say, hey, what's your latest download? And if it's not there yet, they just jump to conclusions. And the reality is that maybe we could have released a 2.7, 3 years ago with whatever our beta was at that time. But what you're going to get with this one is all the functionality I just showed you. So hopefully it's been worth the wait. But I can't necessarily answer how people just jump to those conclusions.
How big is your volunteer team that helps out?
Sure. I mean, we have, I would say that we had commits from at least 10 people in the last 6 months. And if you go back further than that, it just continues to widen. Absolutely.
Hi, Jim. Is there any way to improve Jython's startup performance?
I'm glad you asked that. If you don't address a problem, it's not going to be fixed. And so there are a couple of things that I'm thinking of that would definitely improve that performance. Actually, using Python bytecode is a very good example of this. You don't necessarily have to compile everything to Java bytecode. And Python bytecode doesn't have the performance overhead that you see with Java bytecode for simple things like running a module script. So that potentially could add significant performance and also reduce the volume of classes that are loaded in when you start up the Jython runtime. So that's just one idea. And the advantage of something like doing that is really simple. You solve that one problem, and all of a sudden you say, oh, well, large methods, check. Android, check. All these things. I like things like that, where you are able to go and say, you solve for something, and it solves all these other problems. And you can see that, like, in general, that's Jython's real thing for you, right? You want Python code to run on the JVM. You don't necessarily have to port it to Java, or vice versa.
Well,
Since you mentioned it anyways, I'm the one that was looking at doing a Minecraft adapter because I want kids to learn Python and not Java, or at least Python both. But I'm not going to do it unless I get another person to commit to being a co-creator. So if you are interested in Minecraft or teaching kids or just getting Jython more visibility, come and talk to me, please. Thank you.
That sounds great. Thanks for bringing that up. This needs to be done.
All right, thanks very much. So I'm sure you'll agree with me, 710B, this was the room with the best speakers, the most attractive and the most intelligent people. Thanks for being here. Thanks to all our speakers. Thanks to Jim especially. Thanks to all of you guys. This is the end of the talks. So we're going downstairs now for 2 final keynotes with Guido and Gary Bernhardt. Thanks for being here and see you all later today.
And I'm willing to take any and all additional questions as we walk outside. Thanks.